to the average human being out there watching this slide, I think it's down 27% over the past 6 weeks. What are they seeing?
Well, I don't think that people should really be that worried, right? If you go back and you look at the 2017 bull market or the 2021 bull market, historically we see anywhere between 4 to 7 drawdowns of 30% or more. And so really what we're seeing is just what has always happened. Bitcoin is a volatile asset. That's what people are buying. It's buying volatility. So if you want Bitcoin to go up, you've got to be okay with it going down sometimes. And these kind of cooling off periods or these consolidations are very natural.
This room is packed. I mean, this is a buzzing room. Who's in this room? Is it more retail investors or the institutional folks that I would argue have been driving Bitcoin to new highs before the sell-off?
Yeah, there's about 1,000 people that'll be here today, and really it's a combination, right? We've got a lot of institutional folks, both as speakers, but also every single institution on Wall Street is interested in Bitcoin now. They want to understand what is it, how does it work, what should we be doing with it, and what can it do for our organization. Also, we've got a lot of self-directed investors, and those people really have been buying Bitcoin. They kind of beat the institutions to Bitcoin, and so they want to understand, where are we going from here, and should they be changing anything in their portfolio?
Getting back to that Bitcoin sell-off, Binance's CEO, Richard Tang, has been on fire on X. He thinks this is a tactical retreat in prices. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, look, I really don't think that anyone should be worried whatsoever. Like, if we go back, on November 1st, Bitcoin was $69,000, right? So we're up since the election. But you wouldn't know that if you go and you look at the sentiment online. Everyone loves to kind of freak out. But if you also go and you take a look at other assets, gold is down, stocks are down, right? This is a global liquidity conversation. It's not a Bitcoin-specific thing. Bitcoin just happens to be the asset that is most sensitive to global liquidity. And whenever you get that sensitivity, if liquidity is contracting, Bitcoin will go down. When it's expanding, you're going to see Bitcoin rip to the upside.
What I think it surprised me, Anthony, is I've always come to think Bitcoin is the place where people go when things get a little shaky in the economy. For whatever reason, that's what has happened in the past. We've seen more tariff talk now hitting markets, and we're seeing Bitcoin sell off. Have these assets become correlated? Bad tariff headline, Bitcoin prices have to retreat?
Well, I think that actually Bitcoin is up since Trump got elected, right? So when you think of it from that perspective, people have gone to Bitcoin. He got elected, Bitcoin was a huge winner. $69,000 ran all the way up to $110,000. And so I think what people are really showing is that they understand his economic policies. They voted him into office, and Bitcoin was a big winner from that. Now, this is kind of a consolidation or cooling off. And so what I think we've got to do is we won't be able to answer this question until we get towards the summertime. And so if Bitcoin then turns around and rips right back to all-time highs, we'll say, hey, you know what? That was a consolidation, not a big deal. If Bitcoin stays sub 100K, then I think people will start asking very different questions.
Early this week, I caught up with Robinhood's co-founder and CEO Vlad Tenev. He said it didn't sound like we're getting a Bitcoin reserve this year, but we may get a stablecoin regulation. Do you think we get a Bitcoin reserve?
I think we'll get both. Stablecoin regulation is going to be very important. I think we will get that. But I also think that there's very different forms of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We can hold the 200,000 Bitcoin that we have and just say, hey, we're not going to sell it. Technically, that'll count. And I don't think that's what people want. I think people want the United States to go and buy Bitcoin. And the question is, what is that process? Can it be done through executive order, or are we going to have to go through kind of the legislative process, which will be much harder and may not happen this year?
Bitcoin reserve, where does Bitcoin go?
Much higher. Yeah, I mean, look, anytime that you look at kind of these new pools of capital entering into the market, usually there is some initial, buyer that provides career cover for everybody else. So you saw Paul Tudor Jones and Stanley Druckenmiller do this in 2020. They came out and said, we own Bitcoin. Every portfolio manager on Wall Street could then go buy Bitcoin. When you saw BlackRock and Fidelity come out and say, we're going to have an ETF, every single financial institution, they're in the game. If the United States of America starts buying Bitcoin, every country in the world now has the cover to go and do it the same. And so it's not just a U.S. story, it's going to be a global FOMO story, and I think that pushes the price much, much higher.
Should meme coins be securities?
Well, the SEC, who's much smarter than me on these topics, they say no. What I think is probably an interesting second or third order effect is if you now have a digital collectible that's not going to be a security and they look like these meme coins, I think you're going to see a lot of other asset issuers say, how do I take my asset, put it into a digital form, and have it fall under this digital collectible kind of rulemaking? What the effects of that are, I don't think we quite understand yet, but any time that you can show some of the incentive, you can pretty much understand what the outcome's going to be. And so now you're going to have these digital issuers saying, oh, I'm just a meme coin, I'm just a collectible, please don't regulate me. On one hand, it'll be lower cost for them to operate, which I think is what they'll be going after, but also I think that there's a reason why securities laws exist, and we want to be very careful about that.
All right, let's get, after this conference, I think I got to go sign some autographs or something. Anthony Pompliano, good to see you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.